So, welcome. I don't do a lot of lives on Facebook, but I thought this one would be a good one. As you probably know, I founded the New York Bee Sanctuary almost 10 years ago. And one of the beautiful things with bees is that they make honey, and they make way more than what they need. And just to put it in proportion, in one beehive you have between 30,000 to 50,000 bees. Most of those bees are foraging, so they go out of the hive, they find flowers, and they bring two things back from the flowers. They bring nectar that they basically swallow, and they bring pollen that they attach to their back legs. And depending on which flower it is and which season, which time of the day, they focus on usually one specific patch of plant. Some plants only make nectar in the morning, and so they would go for the nectar. And then in the afternoon, they might move to other plants. So you've probably seen beehives a lot, or at least you know what it looks like. And you have all those boxes like this that are piled onto each other. So when you see a beehive, the bottom box is usually what we call the brood, which is basically where the queen is laying eggs. And a queen can lay around 1,000 eggs a day, 1,000 baby every day. And there's bees that are basically specifically taking care of the queen because she never goes out of the hive. So they feed her, they clean her. When she poops, they take that out. Things like that. But above this box, above the first box, which is usually bigger, you have other boxes, and that's usually where the bees put their honey and their pollen. And because the bees are very organized, they would put pollen in certain areas, and they would put honey in other areas. So that's a box from one beehive. So that's what it would look like. I just took them out a few weeks ago when I got my new colonies. And in each box, you have 10 frames, and that's what a frame is. So that's what, when you take it out, that's what it would look like. And I don't know if you can see well, but on that frame, you will have the comb that the bees are building, and then they would put the nectar, and when the nectar is dry enough, they would cap this little box, each one little box, and that is basically honey. And that honey keeps for thousands of years. It's completely sterile and clean. They found honey in, I think in Egypt, in the pyramids or somewhere in the tomb, and the honey was still good 5,000 years later. So what we do as beekeepers is extract some of that honey. So I'm going to put that frame back. And so here are other frames. So you can see this is quite heavy, and this is probably 2 or 3 kilos. There's probably 2 or 3 little pots of honey, or 4 pots of honey right there. So that's what you get, when you get it out. And what we do is that we need to remove the cap from that honey, because the honey is trapped under. Imagine like little carafe or jars of honey. And there's a little cap that's all made with wax. So all the bee structures is made of wax. That is wax here that I can take out. And what we do, and I'm going to do it in a way where hopefully you can see it, is that we have this kind of tool. So there's many different tools here. And we go on the top of the honeycomb, and we do that slow movement where basically I'm taking the cap out. So the top here has been removed, and you can see the honey is right behind, held by the comb. So I've done that for a few frames already, just for the purpose of this video. So that's a frame where the comb, the top of the cap of the comb has been removed. And there's many ways to extract, but the way we extract is in a centrifuge. So that's what's here. So I'm going to put that in my centrifuge here, putting one frame inside, and then I've prepared another frame that's also ready to go, and I'm going to put it on the other directions here, and then I'm going to close this and basically rotate the frames. And by the power of the centrifuge, basically it's going to extract the honey outside. The honey is going to fall at the bottom here, and then I'm going to open this, put a little filter so I can basically hold any wax or dead bees or branches, you know, anything that should not be in the honey, and then put my honey pot under, and that's what we call honey. At least the way we know it. When you buy it from a local beekeeper, unprocessed, raw, unfiltered honey, that's what it is. It's just taking the honey out of the comb. So I hope that was useful. So I do that usually only once a year. You know, some beekeeper takes honey a couple of times a year out of the hive. I'm not raising bees for the honey really, but because they produce way more than what they need. I take some out once a year, and now is a good time of the year because the bees are quite healthy. There's a lot of food available, so when you take the honey out, you don't really take too much from them. So I said earlier there is around 30, 40, sometimes up to 50,000 bees in a beehive. So to give you an idea, so a bee lives only 1 month. She has a pretty short life, and depending of how old she is, she's going to have different tasks in the hive. So at the beginning, when she's just born, she's not going to fly out. She's just going to take care basically of cleaning the hive, basic tasks, because she's still learning. When she get a week old, or a little bit later, she's going to start flying out and learn foraging. And she's going to learn from other bees. You know about the dance of the bees. So those bees are the scout bees that goes out in the morning. So bees goes in all directions, up to a few miles. One beehive cover around 50,000 acres of land, so it's pretty broad. And the scout bees, a few hundred of them come back, and they are going to make that dance that basically tell the bees inside the hive where is the food, how far it is. And the dance, basically that they dance, is at an angle based on the sun. But, as you probably know, the sun moves in the sky because the earth turns. So let's say the bee is gone for an hour and she discovers some plants there. By the time she comes back, the sun has shifted in the sky. So when she dances, she corrects her dance based on where the sun is going to be when the bees are going to forage. Just to say, well, it's 2 degrees east of the sun, 20 minutes flight. So if she's gone away for an hour, or she just do her dance a little bit later, she's going to say it's 4 degrees from the sun because she knows it has moved. And all of that, I think that's another extraordinary thing that I love about bees, is that bees do not see in the dark. They are like us. And inside the hive, it's pitch dark. So we're like, well, how do they know? How do they see the other bees dancing? Well, they use their antennas and by contact. So if you see one time a video of a bee dance, those videos have light on it because there's cameras, and that's how we see it. But for the bees, it's different. For the bees, are going to use their antenna and touch that bee that's dancing, and based on that movement and the energies that moves around, she's going to know exactly the angle and the direction. So the bees then, as she grows older, start foraging. And when she gets a little bit older, the foragers are good because they know the area. So those are usually the bees that teach the younger bees about where to forage. And then at the end of her life, which is around 3 to 4 weeks of life, so it's very short, the bees is going to not fly much outside because usually her wings are a little bit damaged and she's getting old. And she's going to take care of the babies. So all the larvae that are laid by the eggs that are laid by the queen, 1,000 baby every day. Imagine one queen mother that does that. Those eggs that transform into larvae and then into pups and then into bees need to be fed. So that's the job of the older bees. So it's like the grandmother bees, that's what I like. The older bees are the ones taking care of the babies. And they're going to use the honey, the pollens, and royal jelly also. That is going to be used to make a mix to feed those babies. I could say like so many fun facts about the bees. So based on the food that the baby bees are receiving the first 3 to 5 days of their life, when they are still, very small and in the comb, the same comb as where the honey is, just different place in the hive. Based on the food that is fed to the bees is going to become a female bees, which is most of the bees in the hive, a male bees, what we call drone, or a queen bee. So imagine that after you were born, the first 5 days of food that your mother gives you will decide if you grow male genitals, female genitals, or if you get bigger and become that queen bee that's going to lay eggs. So that's quite extraordinary, and bees are very good at knowing what's going on in the hive to know what do we need a new queen, for example. There's only one queen in 50,000 bees in the hive. But if the queen's starting to lay less eggs, for example, and the bees are feeling that there's not enough eggs, they are going to do some bigger combs, because the queen baby is bigger too, somewhere hidden in the hive. And they are going to feed 4 or 5 eggs usually with more royal jelly. That's going to create queens. And you are going to have 4 or 5 baby queens that are going to get born. And the first queen that is born, that is going to come out, the first thing she's going to do is she's going to find if there are other queens that are in progress here that might come, and she's going to sting through the comb and kill each other queen to make sure there's only one, because there can only be one. And the queen is the only bees that can sting multiple times without dying, so she can do that. And then she's going to find the queen and kill her. And that new queen, she is a virgin. She has never mated yet, and she's going to take a flight. And she's go to those places in nature which are where the drones hang out. The drones are a bit funny. There's only a few hundred males bees in a hive, so there's not many of them. But during the day, and they don't forage, they don't clean the hive, they don't take care of the babies. Their only purpose is to reproduce when there is a virgin queen. So that queen is going to fly out, and the drones are slightly bigger. The male bees are bigger. They don't have a stinger, because the stinger became their penis. And so once they see a queen bee flying in the sky, which has to be a virgin, because I told you the queen bees never fly out. So if there's a queen bee that's flying in the sky, they know it's a virgin. They are all going to take off and chase her in the sky. And you would see those beautiful videos of one queen bee flying and like 20 or so males trying to catch up on her. And the strongest one, the one that can catch up on her, is going to penetrate her in flight, put his sperm inside, and come out. And as he come out, in the same way that the dart of the bee stays stuck in you, his penis is going to be stuck in the queen bee, and he's going to fall on the ground and die. So he win the prize to reproduce, but is dying in the process. When the queen knows that she's been impregnated, she's going to come back to the hive. The bees are going to remove the penis, clean her, and push her out. And she's going to go on 10, 15, 20 flights sometimes and get impregnated by many, many males. And that's the way the bees basically bring diversity of genetics in a hive. They don't reproduce with the male that are in their hive. They go far, and they get introduced by 20 or 30 males from different hives. So when a queen lays eggs, there's only one mother, the queen, but there's plenty of fathers, up to 20. And that new queen basically then, after she's been impregnated enough, she's never going to fly out again. And a queen can live a few years. You know, a bee lives only 1 month, but the queen bee is going to live for many, many years. So that's why, you know, when we open hives, we're very careful not to squeeze or damage the queen bee, because she is very important. You know, we call her a queen, but she doesn't really decide anything. She's more in service of the hive and in service of the other bees. So I don't know if the word queen is really the best name for it, because she's in many ways kind of a slave of all the other bees, and she keeps the hive alive. Because all the decision in a hive is not taken by a queen. You know, if you think of a queendom or a kingdom, well, the way we see it as human is that the king and the queen decide for the people. But in a beehive, all decisions are taken by the collective. So like in the morning, when they decide where to forage, many scout bees come, and you might have 4 or 5 bees dancing and showing where to go. And the bees that want to go with that one are going to go next to this one, the other one are going to go next to this one. And when the majority is reached, when 51% of the bees are next to one forager, all the other bees, the 49%, join. And that's how decisions are taken, to the majority. So we often say that the bees invented democracy millions of years ago. And their democracy obviously works really well because there is no arguments. There's a process of discussion, but then they go together. So that's some of the, you know, there's so many interesting things about this. So we are going to extract honey, spend the whole day doing that. Maybe I'll do a little video later, or photos of what we've collected, but I think we have around 40 or 50 pounds of honey to extract today. And if you're ever interested, well, come visit us at the New York Bee Sanctuary here in the Catskills, or or just go visit a local beekeeper, and he can show you a little bit about their bees and how fascinating they are. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.